So I wanted to give you an idea how to make your own version of the SIR model I was looking at. And what you'll do is make an account at colcalc.com, or .org, I apologize. This used to be SageMath.org, if you were familiar with that. And you can create a new project. When you open that, give it any name. And rather than have extra files here, I'm going to show you what happens when I make a new spreadsheet. So once you open that, give that file any name, you'll be able to, so it'll look something like this. You'll be able to create that new file. You can change the name here, and if you want to make a LaTeX document, you can do that. A Jupyter notebook, if you're familiar with that, you could open a Jupyter a notebook tab, and there are a few others other options I'm not as familiar with here. But a Sage worksheet is what I want you to open, and this will allow you, so you'll code in here, and this will allow you to run your program. So I send you some code, and when you open that code, and I'm going to open this other tab here. I have a few tabs. When you open that code, so I'm going to give you an example here. This is the one I want, I apologize. So you'll type in some of my code, and I recommend, I've left spaces between that because that's probably how you should enter it in those chunks at a time. So these hashtags are comments, and that's to explain my work. In the SIR model, I have left a vector with 3 entries, and if I did send you the more complicated one with the lost model, that will have 4. But you'll be able to enter those, just copy and paste the code that I sent you, because I want you to play with the numbers later, but for now just make sure it works. So you'll copy and paste that code in there, and when you want to run the code, you'll simultaneously press Shift Enter, and that runs your code. Now I have a few extra lines here. This was to check some work that I was editing, but Shift Enter, Shift Enter, Shift Enter will run each of those, and then if you want to edit something, and a semicolon will make that matrix not appear. It's not necessary unless you need to check the entries, but the values that I've left in your matrix, if you want to edit those, just watch the video on how that works. So say that I want to decrease this percentage. I have 99% of the susceptible population will remain in the susceptible group. However, what if I want to change that to 98? I would need to make sure that column is still added to 100%. So 98% plus 2% plus 0%, I still add to 100%. Suppose that I wanted to change my population to perhaps the population of Arkansas, roughly. So I believe that's, and you might double check, but around 3.2 million people in Arkansas, and assume that we had 5 susceptible. So Shift Enter will rerun that information. You'll notice I may have not sent you all of this, so here's where I've defined my Markov matrix, my matrix with my probabilities. You don't have to worry about what that is, but from the video, that's the matrix with the probabilities I've discussed, and you can give that a different name if you'd like. Here, my population vector is so I've listed the population of susceptible adults along with the population of infected. Really, if I wanted to be more exact, I'd find that population and subtract 5 so that these added, but I left it like that. And the spread is going to generate a matrix that will take your probability matrix to I would be however many days you're wanting. So here I have 120 days. So you'll be able to generate a matrix that contains those values. So over time you'll be able to look at the group in the susceptible group, so the number of individuals in the susceptible, infected, and recovered group. And the spread, what I'm doing here, you don't have to have this. This is checking that the 120th day, so what I did on this, I just wanted to make sure if I mess with these probabilities and do a calculation error, then I wanted to make sure that the sum of the entries in the 120th day still added to the total population. And they do. So this is unnecessary, but that was me checking my work. Here was me checking a few other things. I didn't send you that code, but you'll have something like this. What this does is generates your graph. So once you've changed these values, and again, don't worry about that big matrix, your graph will change, and you'll be able to edit that and make that your own. So you can play around with things in there, get a feel for it, change something. If it gives you an error, then just Control Z and undo it. So let me know if you have questions, but this is something I'd like you to look at for me for your model.